Non gli davanti, vai, vai. Ecco qua. Buongiorno signore, voi potete pezzo merluzzo tesoro? È un spettacolo di spettacoli.
Impariamo l'italiano piano piano.
Un impegno quotidiano. Ciao studenti saggi, benvenuti. Today we're going through the comprehension questions from bonus episode 10 and explore some of the real-life Italian language moments that happened al Mercato. These include gentle corrections from the vendors, useful expressions that just came out naturally, and a few little quirks of marketplace language that are worth noticing.
Mayra, scusa, ma devo dirti una cosa molto importante. Sono deluso. Sì, deluso profondamente.
You're deeply disappointed? Di cosa stai parlando?
Tu sei andata al mercato senza di me?
Ah, right. Well,
Ma come? Io, che conosco tutti i segreti del mercato italiano. Io, che so distinguere una focaccia veramente morbida da una focaccia solo così così. E tu? Niente. Mi lasci a casa.
maybe I just wanted to see if I could make it on my own. Complete immersion in the Italian marketplace.
Ma con me accanto avresti fatto una bellissima figura. Perfetta.
That's probably true. I would have made a bella figura with you by my side, but sometimes I need to stumble through on my own. And I think it's good for our studenti saggi to see that I don't always have the right phrase or pronunciation, and it's okay. Sbagliando s'impara, vero? Allora, let's take it banco per banco. My first stop was the Panetteria with our two venditrici, the commesse, Santi and Josie. The first question about the Panetteria was about whether I asked for my focaccia to be morbida o croccante. Let's have another listen to that section and see if you can hear my response.
Avete coscienza? Ok. Più grande, più grande? Sì, due.
Sì, una l'aveva preso dal suo pensare.
Ok. Poi
Dimmi,
focaccia? Questi? Ok. Ripeta?
Più croccante.
Morbida, per favore. Una.
Metto insieme?
Sì, sì, grazie.
30 e 40.
Tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto così? Ok.
So, what was the first commessa Santi asking? The question, morbida o croccante, means soft or crunchy. So she was asking what type of focaccia I want. And my response, morbida per favore. I asked for the soft one. Before that, you may have heard me say avete crescenza. Crescenza is a soft spreadable cheese. Because I'd been to this shop before, Santi knew right away that I meant focaccia with crescenza on top. After that, she says, dimmi, which literally means tell me, but in this context kind of means go ahead, or what else would you like? You might recall this expression from our lesson on commands. Di means say or tell in the imperative form. Mi means to me. In Italian markets, cafes, and small shops, you'll hear versions of this all the time. Dimmi pure. Informal, even more gentle. Go ahead, feel free. Dica pure. A more formal version. Mi dica. Formal and extremely common. Dica. Formal, concise, and polite. So even though dimmi is technically a command, what she's really saying is, okay, tell me what you want next. not demanding, just moving the interaction along. Then you hear me say ripeta. This is the formal imperative of ripetere, meaning repeat, please. This is a great phrase to use at the market stall or in any situation where a more formal tone is appropriate. But since I go there quite often and I know these two ladies, maybe I could have said the informal command, ripeti. Some other options to get someone to repeat themselves might be come, or the formal può ripetere. Può, of course, is the third person singular of potere. What is the full conjugation of potere in the present indicative? Let's hear it. Io posso. Tu puoi. Lui o lei può. Noi, voi, loro possiamo, potete, possono. So, what is può ripetere? Può ripetere is the formal version of can you repeat? If I wanted to say the informal version, puoi ripetere. One more example that you can use in this situation, come ha detto. This one, of course, is using avere. The full conjugation of avere in the present indicative, io ho. Tu hai. Lui, lei ha. Noi, voi, loro. Abbiamo, avete, hanno. So, come ha detto would be the formal, what have you said? Or what did you say? And the informal would be come hai detto. The next thing Santi asks is, should I put them together in the same bag? Metto insieme? And my response, sì, grazie. Now here's another interesting point. In English, when we accept something, we almost always say, yes, please. But in Italian, the more natural response is, sì, grazie. Literally, yes, thank you. Italian uses grazie in many situations where English uses please. Per favore, on the other hand, is more often used when you're making a request rather than accepting one. So at the market, you'll often hear, do you want a bag? Vuole una borsa? Oh, vuole una borsina? Oh, vuole un sacchetto? Sì, grazie. A bit more? Un po' di più? Sì, grazie. Next you hear me say, tutto a posto. And she replies, tutto a posto così? Literally, tutto a posto means everything in place. But that's almost never what it means in conversation. In a market context, it means everything good? Is that everything? Are we done? Some variations you might hear include, we're all set. Siamo a posto. Everything okay? Tutto a posto? That's enough. We're good like this. Or, I'm good like this. A posto così. I'm fine. I don't need anything. Sono a posto. These little phrases are woven into everyday Italian life, especially in a bustling market. The second question from the last episode about the Panetteria asks why la commessa suddenly began talking to me about the scontrino and the risk of getting a multa salata, a hefty fine. It's a wonderful moment because it shows exactly how conversations can shift instantly from business to everyday wisdom with a bit of humor and, in this case, a lot of personality. Let's revisit that part of the conversation and see what's happening.
11,70.
Grazie a voi.
Carta di
Quindi
credito.
decidi la finanza.
Thank you.
Sì. A rompere i coglioni.
Chi è rompecoglioni?
La
La
finanza.
no, perché noi siamo dei ladri, ladroni, buongiorno.
Hai capito? La guardia di finanza. La guardia di finanza. In Canada come la chiamano?
Finanza quella che chiede lo scontrino. Se non ce l'hai ti fa la multa.
Non capisco.
Allora, scontrino.
Sì, scontrino.
Se ti fermano fuori la finanza e non ce l'hai ti fa la multa.
Ok.
tipo la polizia, però sì, è tipo, come si può dire? La polizia, non so come si dice che ti controlla.
Lo scontrino.
Ok,
che io ti abbia
perché
fatto lo
se
scontrino.
ho qualcosa in
Esatto,
sacco...
senza scontrino
Ah,
sei in multa. In
oh.
Italia sei in multa.
multa? Sì.
Salate, sia tu che noi negozianti. Ok? Quindi è sempre meglio avere lo scontrino. Ok?
Sì.
Va bene, grazie.
Meglio stare in Canada in quel caso.
So, why did she raise the subject of the scontrino? Because she was giving me a very Italian, very caring warning. Because I'm a foreigner paying for things at the market, she wanted to be helpful, and so she told me what every Italian knows: you must always carry your receipt, your scontrino. Always. This brings us to question 3. What does she say about the Guardia di Finanza? She says, se ti fermano fuori la finanza, non ce l'hai, ti fa la multa. If the financial police stop you outside and you don't have it, meaning the scontrino, they'll fine you. Why? Because the Guardia di Finanza can stop you just outside the stall and ask for proof that you paid for what you're carrying. To be honest, I've never seen this and it's never happened to me. However, if you don't have the receipt, you risk a fine. In her words, una multa salata, a salty fine, meaning, of course, a pricey one. Then she expresses frustration with the system. The finance police, thieves. Finanza, fiduci, ladri. She also says, senza scontrino sei in multa. In Italia, sei in multa salate. Without a receipt, you're in a fine. In Italy, you're in a fine. A salty one. Essere in multa. Literally, to be in a fine. It may not be strictly grammatically correct, but I think we get the message. In Italian, you can be in various types of situations. For instance, essere in ritardo, to be in delay, or to be late. To be in debt, essere in debito. To be in difficulty, essere in difficoltà. To be in compliance, essere in regola. To be in the wrong, essere in torto. So essere in multa follows that same pattern. To be in the situation of having a fine. It's not really legal language, but it's common speech, especially in places like markets where people talk quickly and emotionally. She goes on to explain that both the customer and the vendor can get fined. Sia tu che noi negozianti. Both you and us shopkeepers. I'd like to point out this very common Italian structure, sia che. Here's how it works. Sia, one thing, che, the other thing, means both one thing and the other thing. You can use it with people, things, actions, pretty much anything. It's extremely useful and you'll hear it in everyday Italian. here are some more real-world examples of this one. Both you and I are hungry. Sia tu che io abbiamo fame. Antonio, hai fame?
Io? No, per niente. Ma sto solo dicendo che forse potrei aiutare con questi esempi. Se vuoi.
Ah, vuoi partecipare?
Diciamo che non voglio lasciarti da sola. E poi, se parliamo di fare una bella figura, anche con gli studenti saggi,
Right, yes, of course. Torniamo a noi. Both the focaccia and the pizza are delicious here.
sia la focaccia che la pizza sono buonissime qui. Sia la focaccia che la pizza sono buonissime qui.
I use Italian both at home and at work. Think about the order.
Sia a casa che al lavoro uso l'italiano. Sia a casa che al lavoro uso l'italiano.
And the one from our shopkeeper, both you and us shopkeepers.
Sia tu che noi negozianti. Sia tu che noi negozianti.
So sia che. A tiny phrase, but you'll hear Italians use it all the time to pair two things together. And finally, Josie asks me a perfectly logical question. What do you call them in Canada? In Canada, come la chiamano? Conversational, direct, and deeply rooted in Italian daily life. The relationship between the market, taxes, the state, and everyday people. This little piece of advice, spontaneous, emotional, and funny, especially if you'd seen the way she was rubbing her tummy when she said loro mangiano, gives you a taste of Italian culture, real spoken rhythm, authentic register, everyday vocabulary, and a glimpse into Italian humor and frustration. But more importantly, it shows you the kindness behind her words. She wasn't scolding, she was helping me. She wanted to make sure I didn't walk out with focaccia in my bag and end up with a multa salata because I didn't know the rules. And next we have one of my favorite lines from the whole encounter. Here Santi says, "E noi dobbiamo sgobbare a lavorare. Hai capito?" And us, we're the ones who have to slog away working. You understand? The verb sgobbare is wonderfully expressive. It means to work your tail off, to toil, to slog, to bust your back. It's informal, emotional, and full of personality. The tone is very much they eat, they take, and we're the ones who have to do all the hard work. These shopkeepers are gesturing, expressing frustration, joking, and venting, and all with warmth and rhythm. It's a perfect example of the expressiveness of spoken Italian, and another reason that I wanted to share these natural, rich interactions with you, my studenti saggi. Now let's move on to the next stop in our market morning, la Rosticceria. This stall is lively, crowded, and full of overlapping voices, fast, layered, and full of movement. The first question for this section was, why did I say io ultima when I arrived at the counter, and how could I have said it more naturally? At busy market counters in Italy, sometimes there's a ticket system and you take a ticket to know your place in the line, but there's often no ticket system or it's not being used for one reason or another, and there's no obvious order and there's no clear line. Customers just keep track of who arrived before whom. So that's why I said io ultima, which was my way of saying I'm the last one. But as we hear in the recording, the moment was fast, noisy, and full of overlapping voices. Let's have a listen.
Era prima lui.
Era l'ultimo. Io ok, Coscia? Avete Coscia? Coscia? No? Coscia? Coscia. Questa? Sì, ok. 3 per favore. Preferisco provare in italiano. Coscia.
So, why io ultima? As I mentioned, in that moment, I was just trying to signal that I'm the last in the line, even though I might be poking my face in the front of the glass to try to see what there is. As a learner of the Italian language, I sometimes just blurt out whatever I can think of in the situation, but really the more natural form should have included the verb essere, just like in English. Sono l'ultima. How about some other forms that Italian speakers might use in this particular situation? Antonio, you want to help me out with these?
Ma certo, Mayra. Anzi, queste cose sono pane per i miei denti. Dai, fammi brillare.
Bread for your teeth. Se lo dici tu. Ma torniamo ai nostri esempi. I'm after her or him.
Sono dopo di lei. Sono dopo di lui. Sono dopo di lei. Sono dopo di lui.
I'm at the end.
Sono in fondo. Sono in fondo.
I'm the last in line.
Sono l'ultima della fila. Sono l'ultima della fila.
I'm the last one.
Sono l'ultima. Sono l'ultima.
Here are a few more phrases you might hear. Who's the last?
Chi è l'ultimo? Chi è l'ultimo?
It's me.
Sono io. Sono io.
I go after her.
Vado dopo lei. Vado dopo lei.
Is it my turn?
Tocca a me? Tocca a me?
Did you catch my mispronunciation of the word for chicken thigh? I said it twice, and from the look I got, I realized I must have it wrong, and I corrected it to Coscia. Did you notice the next thing the venditrice asked me? This happens almost every time I show up in a store or at a market stall. I don't even need to say anything sometimes. They immediately ask if I would prefer to speak English. On this occasion, my response was, Preferisco provare in italiano. I quite often find that when I show that I want to try using Italian, their faces light up. They're genuinely happy to see someone making an effort in their native language. In that moment, they become ambassadors of the language, cheering me on while I struggle to find the right words and truly supporting me as I try to make my request in Italian.
Vedi, Mayra, è questo lo spirito dell'Italia. Se mostri il desiderio di parlare la nostra lingua, noi ti prendiamo per mano. Non sei mai sola al mercato. Adesso, Mayra, è importante capire che non tutte le risposte sono uguali. Dipende da come vuoi rispondere, con gentilezza, con sicurezza o con un po' di stile italiano.
Va bene, Antonio. Dici di più, and I'll help where needed.
Per cominciare, ecco le risposte gentili e amichevoli. Queste sono perfette, quando vuoi essere educata, ma desideri comunque continuare in italiano.
I'd like to practice a bit in Italian.
Vorrei esercitarmi un po' in italiano. Vorrei esercitarmi un po' in italiano.
If you speak slowly, I can follow.
Se parla lentamente, la seguo. Se parla lentamente, la seguo.
Can we continue in Italian?
Possiamo continuare in italiano. Possiamo continuare in italiano. E poi naturalmente quella che hai usato tu.
I'd prefer to try in Italian.
Preferisco provare in italiano. Preferisco provare in italiano. Adesso passiamo alle risposte sicure, quelle che mostrano coraggio e determinazione. Perfette. Quando vuoi far capire che l'italiano lo vuoi davvero usare.
Don't worry, I understand.
Non si preoccupi, capisco. Non si preoccupi, capisco.
I like speaking Italian. It helps me a lot.
Mi piace parlare italiano. Mi aiuta molto. Mi piace parlare italiano. Mi aiuta molto.
It's important for me to improve, so I'd like to continue in Italian.
Ci tengo a migliorare, quindi vorrei continuare in italiano. Ci tengo a migliorare, quindi vorrei continuare in italiano.
Little by little, I can do it.
Piano piano ce la faccio. Piano piano ce la faccio. Con queste risposte, Mayra, tu farai una bellissima figura.
Perfetto. Allora, andiamo avanti con la prossima domanda, quella sulla rosticceria.
Aspetta, Mayra. Direi che per oggi basta così. Abbiamo già dato tantissimo agli studenti saggi. Non vorrei mica rovinarli con troppo contenuto tutto insieme.
Too much content? Va bene, Antonio. Abbiamo visto tante situazioni reali del mercato e alcune risposte utili per continuare a parlare in italiano quando qualcuno passa all'inglese. Va bene. In the next episode, we're going to take things a step further. Parleremo di pesi e misure italiane e anche dei vari tagli di carne e di pollo che si trovano al mercato.
Ah, un argomento serio. Preparati, Mayra, perché qui ci vuole precisione assoluta.
Maybe, but sometimes maybe not. A volte dico solo che ne voglio per due per la cena di stasera. But I think Antonio's right. We've loaded you up with enough to think about for one episode. If you'd like to practice any of these, or if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, there's nothing I'd like more than to hear from you, cari studenti saggi. As always, contact links are in the show notes. Ci sentiamo!
Alla prossima.
Non c'è lì all'angolo, Diego?
Aspetta, manca 5 euro, secondo, Più grossi?
Hai bisogno di 5 euro, Andrea?
Sì, dalla signora.
No.
Grazie. Tu poi guardami il 5 euro.